Hi, good evening, everybody. Am I audible? Um, I'm not going to waste any time. This is a delightful book, and I urge all of you to pick up a copy and read it because it gives you an inside view into how intelligence works, both internal and external. And Mr. Dulat is a fascinating storyteller. So let me quickly start asking him some questions. We don't have too much time. I'm going to start with what I thought was a little bit of a contradiction in your book when you start by saying that you grew up and you were educated, and throughout school it was imbibed in you that you must own up when something went wrong. There was this sense of integrity and honesty that you felt very strongly. When you go on to describe, however, the intelligence services, you say it's not a pretty job at all, and you even say that patriotism is often just a cover for something that is pretty not nice. How do you balance these two emotions in your life? How did you?
You know, what you talk about school, actually, in life, one basically learns what one learns at home, and then one learns a lot in school. And it's a combination of the two that helps you grow up. So I think I learned at both places, both at home and in school. And one of the things I learned in school was that, if you make a mistake, we all make mistakes, put your hand up and say, I'm sorry, I did this. And unconsciously, that gives you also strength to support the underdog. And strange as it might seem in our kind of work, this is one of the reasons that I got along so well in Kashmir or with the Kashmiris. Because to understand Kashmir, to be in Kashmir, to live with the Kashmiri, to befriend the Kashmiri, you must have empathy. And that empathy, I think, came out of school. Home also, but more out of school. That, you have to stand up for yourself and also stand up for somebody who's smaller than you or weaker than you. And so it did help. It's in the subconscious mind, it's in the unconscious mind. Yeah, but you learn these things, and it does help.
You speak of empathy, and in that context you also say that working in the secret services, being a spook, as you say, quote unquote, a spook, you say you can't afford to have very black and white views on life. You always see the gray. But then certain, as you say, more straight-laced chiefs of IB or RAW who have come in after your times perhaps, have been really very, sticking to the strictly narrow path, which in turn leads to New Delhi taking a very sharp black and white view of things. Can you talk to me a little bit about that, this idea of grey in politics?
Yeah, I've said this repeatedly, that Kashmir is mostly grey. It's not black and white. There's nothing absolute about Kashmir, and to understand Kashmir, you have to look at the grey. And that's what we forget in Delhi, that there can be areas which are grey. And I've conversed so much with the Kashmiris, and I've often said to them, to some of their more prominent leaders, that you guys are always lying. And they said, yeah, we lie. We lie because you never speak the truth to us. And you teach us how to lie, or you make it necessary for us to lie. So that's where the grey is, that it's not as we want it or as they want it. It has to be the middle path. And that middle path is what we need to tread. It's also the middle path I think we need to tread in with our neighborhood. I think we forget that sometimes, that in absolute terms, I don't think we are going to get anywhere.
This more sort of muscular approach to security, which we are seeing playing out even now in Chhattisgarh, for instance, when when the state is going all out to finish Maoism. How does this work in these conflict areas? What, for instance, was different in the so-called Dulat model? What had you advocated in Kashmir, which was an alternative to this open muscular approach?
You know, there will always be times when you need to be muscular. As I said, there's nothing absolute, you know. There's I mean, things were so bad in Kashmir, let me tell you, in that winter of 89-90, that after that the army had to be called out. So it was a necessity. And there have been times when a little more muscle power has been necessary. But as I say, it cannot be just one way of dealing with people, that, you know, you keep using the stick and you don't talk to people or you don't engage with people. So I think engagement is the key. We need to engage with whoever it is, whether it is Kashmir, whether it is Punjab, whether it's the Northeast, whether it's here in Kerala. I mean, people sitting in Delhi, I don't think understand Kerala or don't understand Bengal, you know. So that's how it goes. It's a large country, ours, and there are some very sensitive areas which need this thing. Likewise, I say the same about our neighborhood, you know, that I think there's nothing absolute, whether it is China, whether it's Pakistan. These are the two trickier, more difficult neighbors to deal with, the two tougher neighbors. But we have problems even with Nepal.
But having said that, having understood your point of there being a time for a muscular approach and there being a time for a soft approach, you do say that at the present moment you feel, you have the impression, I mean, of course I'm going by the date of your book, which is a year old, where you say that you feel the IB is out of it completely. So who then is calling the shots if the IB is out of it completely?
You know, when I say the IB is out of it, it may have been the time when I was writing that book. That doesn't mean the IB stays out of it. You know, there are times and there are times and there are times. So I wouldn't say that again, as I said, there are no absolutes. It's not that the IB will always be out of it. I think the IB again is very much in it. And you have to watch Kashmir, or you have to watch whatever you want to watch. And you'll see for yourself. When things begin to happen, you can be sure that the IB is very much involved in it, you know, somewhere or the other. So I think I get the sense once more that maybe something is happening in Kashmir now, and the IB would certainly be involved.
This sense that you get of something that's anyway, let's circle back to Kashmir in a while, because I've got a lot to ask you about Kashmir. But if I might make a slight digression into Sri Lanka, when you write in your book of meeting Chandrika Bandanaike at her residence and the sort of challenging tone in which she asked you to locate Prabhakaran, that's a fascinating episode. There were also some rumors at that time floating around that RAW had fed wrong information, which led to a lot of Indian Army deaths. What of challenging tone in which she asked you to locate Prabhakaran. That's a fascinating episode. There were also some rumors at that time floating around that RAW had fed wrong information, which led to a lot of Indian Army deaths. What do you have to say to that?
I don't know about the information that the RNAW had at the time when the IPKF or the Indian Army was there, because it was much before my time. But yes, when the lady called me, actually it was a summons from her, and it came directly to me, and I went and asked Mr. Brijesh Mishra, who was the principal secretary and also the NSC at that time. I said, the lady has summoned me to Colombo. And he said, go and meet her and see what she wants. So that's how it happened. And she was a very imposing personality, no doubt about it. She kept me waiting in that large drawing room of hers for about close to half an hour, and I was offered tea and coffee twice. But she didn't enter. And when she entered, you could make out that, yeah, this is somebody big, somebody
And she came
imperious coming in.
And she came with a map and said, show me where Prabhakaran is.
Yeah. I think the message she was trying to convey was that we need Prabhakaran. And you guys can help in getting to Prabhakaran. So she put this map out on the table and she said, tell me now, where is Prabhakaran? And I said, madam, we don't know. I was very defensive. I said, we don't know. She said, of course you know. But the more interesting thing was that, you know, how you realize, you understand how big people, how big leaders, they don't trust people, you know. It's not about trusting me. But before I could get up and leave, she said to me, she said, you're going to be here for a while. Avoid so-and-so, and I would suggest you meet so-and-so, because I don't trust everybody here. Now, she is telling me about her own officers, and I found that very, very interesting.
Yeah. Post-1984, that dramatic year, you say that you spoke to Mr. Narayanan and you said that the Sikhs are very, very angry. In today's context, how are you reading the mood in Punjab?
I think Punjab is all right, and I hope it will remain all right. There's no problem in the Punjab as such. Because, you know, I think people here are possibly not conscious of the fact that long time ago, there was a gentleman by the name of Master Tara Singh who wanted a Punjabi Suba or a Sikh state. And the great Chief Minister of Punjab said, I will over my dead body. Pratap Singh Kaur said, nothing doing. At that time, Punjab was a huge state, you know, whatever we got of Punjab. It was what is now Punjab, Haryana and Himachal. But what has happened is that with the creation of Haryana, now we have a Sikh majority state. Right. So what Master Tara Singh fought so many years for has come about on its own now. And Punjab is 52-48 or so. And so I think everybody is quite happy. What happened in 84 all round in every way was very unfortunate. And at that time, there was a lunatic or a radical fringe which talked about Khalistan. Right now, there's no talk of Khalistan.
No, but there is
but if people in Canada or the United States or Britain talk about Khalistan, I don't think it should worry us. How does it worry us?
There are sects now. There are some sects forming out of SAD, out of the Akali Dal, who are, one of them at least is led by someone who's a separatist. So do you see some sort of revival happening, or is it a political statement, or is it a reaction to something that's happening in Delhi?
No, I don't see anything happening immediately, but the thing is that we talk about, you know, we've been talking about Kashmir, and I mentioned the Northeast as well. These are sensitive states.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes we forget because of the peace in Punjab. Punjab is a very sensitive state. It's a border state and it's a very sensitive state. So as long as you don't provoke the Punjabi or the Sikh in particular, I think everything is all right. There's no problem there.
Right.
But yes, I mean, our leaders from Delhi are not very comfortable going to Amritsar.
Not very comfortable going to Kashmir either, not very comfortable going to Manipur either. The list is quite long. That's the problem. We come back to Kashmir, where you say that Kashmir taught you everything you know about intelligence. You want to elaborate on that a little bit?
Yeah, you know, This is a old log story that I was actually posted in Bhopal in those days, and I'd done more than my 3 years, almost 4 years in Bhopal, and I was due a posting back to Delhi. And when I was told that, or asked, would you be prepared to go to Srinagar? And I thought, why not? Why not go to Srinagar? It's better than Delhi. And actually that changed my whole life, you know, because in the circumstances in which I was sent with what I was told, the mandate to do what, then Kashmir has never really left me, and neither have I left Kashmir. It's been 37 years now. And I've said this repeatedly, that whatever I was, whatever I became, is only because of Kashmir. If I had not gone to Kashmir, I would have retired as any government babu, you know. So if people remember me today, these books would not have been written if I had not gone to Kashmir. Now I've authored or co-authored 4 books, and each one, the core of it all is still Kashmir, you know. So these are accidents in life that happen, and I'm very grateful for it.
You say that over and over again, regardless of the government at the center, the political party in power at the center, you say over and over again, we have made the mistake, the center has made the mistake of not engaging with someone like Farooq Abdullah. Today you have his son Omar. Do you think we're continuing to make the same mistake? Do you see any difference at all? Are we making different mistakes?
No, you see, the reason I have mentioned, I mentioned Dr. Farooq is because over the years I've got to know him well, and it's become a close, unlikely relationship. But I've known the man. I know that there is, when we talk about somebody being a nationalist, a Kashmiri nationalist, he's the most nationalist of the nationalists. So I don't see why Delhi doesn't engage with him. That's only an example. I mean, if you don't engage with Farooq, then who the hell will you engage with in Kashmir? There's nothing left there. You know, now there's his son, he's the chief minister. And soon after he became chief minister, he said, I want to have a good relationship with Delhi. I'd like to get along with Delhi. And what is he asking for? What does the Kashmiri expect? 370 is gone. It's not that it's gone out of the Kashmiri mind. He still thinks about 370. But he also knows that it's not going to come back. So what he craves now for his self-respect is statehood. And I think it's in the interest of both Delhi and Srinagar that statehood is restored at the earliest, because it has to do with credibility on both sides. Otherwise, Omar will lose his credibility soon, and so will Delhi.
How likely is it that statehood is going to be given to Kashmir?
I thought it should be almost immediate, but I don't see it happening now. Like so many things, I don't see statehood being restored easily either.
The Home Minister, Mr. Amit Shah, had said that after this sort of muscular approach to Kashmir, which was undertaken under Mr. Doval, that there has been a definite decline in terrorism in the valley. But now we see it rising again in Jammu. It's taken on a new form in Jammu. So you have said this in your book as well, that using force alone will never work. So how is it that we can come to some sort of a force-come dialogue? What is this via media that the government is missing?
You see, the via media is like this. I again come back because you mentioned Dr. Farooq Abdullah, that if you come to a stage where you have to lock up Farooq, then something is wrong with the thinking in Delhi. That's all I can say. Because he's the ultimate nationalist, and if you don't trust him, that means you don't trust anybody in Kashmir. I say that he is the ultimate nationalist, he is the national conference, and I go to the extent of saying he is Kashmir. So that means you don't trust anybody in Kashmir. And his own people have called him a stooge of Delhi. So where do you leave him? With what option do you leave him? He's not a separatist. He's not a Pakistani. He's never said he wants to go to Pakistan. In fact, his father, the great Sheikh Muhammad Abdullah, stayed with India, and that's why Kashmir has stayed with India.
And after the abrogation of 370, there's really very little left, isn't it, in terms of what the center needs to do to push a sort of, that's the whole thing of, bringing Kashmir into the mainstream, which was one of the reasons given for the abrogation. What is the next step is not being taken is the point I'm trying to make. The center is not taking step 2 after abrogation.
No, abrogation was something that was, in a sense, it was waiting to happen. It was part of the.
Exactly.
Yeah, it would happen sometime, and the Kashmiri knew it will happen, but there was nothing left in 370.
It was being diluted.
Yeah, when Sheikh Saab signed the accord with Indira Gandhi in 75, everything that was there in 370 had been conceded and given away. So there's nothing left to give. My argument was that 370 is only a fig leaf. And if the Kashmiri is happy with that fig leaf, why do you want to deprive him of that fig leaf? That little bit of dignity. Why do you want to deprive people of that little dignity? That's all. There's nothing more. Now, statehood has become an issue. And the way that Delhi looks at it is, yes, we are committed to restoration of statehood, but we will do it at a time of our liking, which means it may not happen for quite a while.
So which again comes to the same point where you take away the dignity of the people. I'm going to ask you to comment on something I found very interesting in your book, where you speak of the difference between the Home Minister Shinde's visit in 2012 and Home Minister Amit Shah's visit in 2019. What was the difference?
Yeah, it's like, I would say, because people here would be more familiar with Devi Gowda, I think it's the difference between Devi Gowda first going to Kashmir and Prime Minister Modi's first going to Kashmir. When Devi Gowda went and drove along the Dal Lake, he found it so beautiful. And he said, it's a pity I didn't bring my wife along. That was his reaction, And he also said not once, but more than once, that, if Kashmir is a part of India, then why are we afraid of visiting Kashmir? Why are prime ministers afraid of visiting Kashmir?
Exactly.
And Devi Gowda, in his 11 months, went to Kashmir 4 times. I don't think Narasimha Rao ever went to Kashmir, not as prime minister.
Which is the point, right? Today, tourism numbers have gone up, business is looking up. So if I tell you, therefore, normalcy has returned to Kashmir, how would you respond?
No, there is a normal. You see, it depends what you take as normalcy. Now, Delhi's way of looking at normalcy is the number of tourists who go visit Kashmir. It's increasing all the time. But also, now, of course, things are a little better since the election because the Kashmiri has started hoping once again that they will have a government of their own. Although there's a diarchy there between, that government and the lieutenant governor's government. There are 2 parallel governments running there. But what was much worse before this election was the silence in Kashmir. It was a deafening silence. And that silence was very scary.
Yeah.
So people have started talking again. People have started feeling that, they have a government. But then they keep looking at Delhi and saying, when is statehood going to come?
I'm beginning to see journalists reporting more openly from Kashmir, Kashmiri journalists. So yes, is that a sign of hope?
No, it's certainly a sign of hope, but I don't see too many Kashmiri journalists reporting from Kashmir. I mean, there are a few, but I know of a very senior Kashmiri journalist in Delhi. And sitting in Delhi, he can't report.
Sitting in Delhi?
He doesn't report or can't report.
But this is very true. I have a friend who's a Kashmiri journalist who has been unable to report for a very long time. I'm beginning to see reports now. So I don't know. Will statehood possibly remove the last sort of vestiges of fear is the question to ask.
It would certainly help. As I said, it would help in Delhi's credibility. It would also help Omar Abdullah with his credibility. You know, after all, if let's say another 6 months and there's no statehood, the Kashmiri is again going to say that Delhi is again playing tricks with us, and this chief minister is no good.
So the anger will turn on the chief minister rather than on the center.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
popular
of course.
anger.
Of course.
Yeah.
Right now, you know, people are happy because, temporarily happy, I would say, because it's a government of their choosing. It's a victory for Kashmir. It's a victory for the National Conference, which is the regional party. It is a victory for the Abdullah family, which is the family of Kashmir. So it's a victory all round. But you know, victories don't last long. If you can't get what you're supposed to get, what is your due, then people will say again that this fellow is no good.
You say in your book that Mr. Doval and Mr. Narendra Modi are made for each other. Please tell us more about that.
Yeah, you know, there are people who, after all, you know, we, no matter how big or wherever your position is, we work with the government in power. And now this is Modi ji's government. And I mean, I know Ajit Doval more than I know Modi ji, and I can sense that they would get along perfectly. You know, their thinking is alike. That if necessary, if we have to use muscle, we'll use muscle. You know, somebody said, I think it was Amit Shah, and then somebody else also said, "Ke ghar ghar mein ghus ke marenge." Now, this is not. I don't think this kind of language goes down well. India doesn't need to do this. India is a bigger country, a better country.
And yet, as you point out, Doval actually began his career more in the Vajpayee mold than in the Modi mold. But he sort of seems to have switched now to the present day's realities, perhaps.
No, you see, Modi and Vajpayee are very different personalities, altogether different. It's another matter that they belong to the same tribe or the same party. But Vajpayee's thinking was more Nehruvian, if I might say that.
Yeah.
And Modi ji is more harder than Nagpur now.
Right. Shall we? I'll ask the audience for questions if there are any. There's somebody here in the yellow shirt.
My question is regarding the present Bangladesh trend. I read, and Mr. Subramanian Swamy, Dr. Subramanian Swamy said, it is a failure of Indian diplomacy. Do you have any comment on that?
Kashmir, right? In Kashmir, Middle East, Bangladesh.
I really can't comment on you know, our diplomacy in Bangladesh, but the fact is that, you know, every country is a sovereign country and it has its own independence. And if the people turn against a particular person, then you have to live with that. I'm sure that Bangladesh will soon have another government, and we'll adjust with that. We'll have to get along with that government. What's her name? Hasina was very good as long as she lasted. But I think she lasted too long and we depended too much on her. Or she depended too much on us, both ways. So, as I said, every country is a sovereign country, and it thinks of its own interest first, you know. Hasina, however close she might have been to us, could not have been Indian. She was still Bangladeshi.
Can we have one last question, please, from the person in the green shirt?
Good evening, sir.
Come forward a bit, yeah. I'm a little hard of hearing, yeah.
Good evening, sir. So my question is, there's actually a well-known proverb called, there is honor among thieves. Honor among thieves. So my question is there something called honor among spies as well?
Yeah. That's a good question. Generally, there's no honor among spies, but there are spies who are sometimes honorable. I would put it like that. So I did say, I think in this book, that if in our business, if you're looking for Mother Teresa, you won't find her. So it's like that, you know.
Thank you so much. That's been a very interesting session, Mr. Dulat. Thank you.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you, A.S. Dulat and Vaishna Roy for their discussion on the book A Life in the Shadows.